So, good evening, everybody. I welcome you all to our ongoing series where we discuss the art of answer writing for our UPSC mains. Yesterday, we have discussed one of the previous year questions from 2018 of GS1, and today, what we have done is we have taken a topper's answer copy and we will discuss that what is the process they are writing these answers along with the question that has been asked. So without getting delayed, let's get started. I hope you continue to watch these series so that you get a better understanding, okay, what is the demand of the questions and how a topper answers them. Or in order to become a topper, what are the things that you have to keep in mind while answering these type of questions. So here is the first question of GS1 paper of a coaching institute. This is basically a mock test. So the question goes somewhat like this. In the context of protection of monuments, explain the role of Archaeological Survey of India. Also comment on the challenges faced by ASI and measure taken to address these. So yesterday we already saw a question on what is the need of protecting our monuments and all those things in 2018 paper. Now this is somewhat on the same lines, but it has also added one more point asking the role of Archaeological Survey of India. And the second part of the question deals with the challenges faced by ASI and measures that have been taken to address them. So now look at the answer given by a topper. So this person writes somewhat like this. Archaeological Survey of India was established by Alexander Cunningham to discover the past heritage and to understand the Indian culture. Very simple, very basic introduction about Archaeological Survey of India, like who established it and what are its major work. Role is given as, its role has been evolved over the years. Now what are its role? We will discuss it. So first, as you can see, discovery of new sites. Very easy, very simple point. By excavating in a scientific manner. Very good point. And the concerned person has also given the example that Harappan was discovered in 1920. Okay, fair enough. Next point, the role of ASI is understanding the culture. They just don't excavate it, they also try to interpret it, what is written there. So understanding the culture by interpretation through the evidences found. So there are different ways like counting the number of circles in a tree or carbon dating methods. All those methods are used to identify or interpret what is written on that particular excavated material. So then the role of ASI becomes also very important. Like they have given an example of understanding the culture, interpretation through the evidences found. So what is the example? Fire altars at Kalibangan means importance to rituals. So this person has given an example of fire altars that were found in Kalibangan in Indus Valley Civilization, IVC. And it means the importance of, it shows that during that time, the rituals that we performed, the yagna that we performed, it was also important at that time. So this is the role of ASI. Next role of ASI is preserving the existing site. They just not excavate or they just not interpret, but also what they do, they preserve it in museums or archive sites and other places. Preserving the existing sites to protect the culture and promote tourism. Very good point. Like along with preservation, what you can do in the museum and the archives places where these things are stored, it promotes tourism of that particular area. So this is the fourth role of ASI. Fifth is restoration of sites. Suppose due to war or due to some natural calamities, these sites have been destroyed. Now, the role of ASI is just not limited to excavating or interpreting or tourism development or archiving them, but also restoration. Means once these sites have been destroyed due to any of the reasons that I mentioned above, they also restore it for their long-term sustainability. So these are the four roles of ASI. Very simple. Now same role you can give to Zoological Survey of India or any other particular survey that deals with excavation or that deals with archaeological history or that deals with historical things of India or any other country, so to say. Now the challenges faced are lack of skilled staff. That's a very common problem. They don't have proper skilled staff who can actually make the things easier for them. So first is lack of skilled staff. Second is lack of funds. Very important point. If you don't have these organizations, they don't get heavy fundings from the government. At the same time, they have to keep on with their work. So when there is lack of fund, lack of salary is there, lack of excitement in work is there. So not many people are willing to take up these kind of jobs, and again they are shifted to places that are far off from urban areas, and proper facilities are not there. So all those things doesn't excite human beings, human resource, so to say, and as a result people are reluctant to go into these fields. So lack of funds for excavation and research purposes. Again, funds not only related to management of human resource but also for excavation. So you have to dig deep underground, then you have to have proper research material, books, facilities like labs and all. Those things lack, and these are the challenges that are faced by ASI. Third but challenge is lacking new technologies so that sites don't get affected. So many a times what they do, they use obsolete technologies which many a times affect the excavated items which have been taken out from the earth. So as a result, so what happened, they are destroyed, or some kind of damage is done. So in order to prevent these kind of accident, a better technological equipment should be used. So these are the three major challenges faced by ASI. Now what are the measures taken? So measures taken, what this person has written: Ministry of Cultural and Tourism formed. So for addressing these type of issues related to archaeology and excavation and historical archives and all those things, a particular ministry was formed. A different ministry was formed that looks after all those things in particular. So first is ministry formed. Next is adoption of heritage scheme. Like, there are many schemes that are currently going on, like Pradhan Mantri Parvasi Divas, or, excavation schemes, so that it promotes tourism and in turn, leads to funding of these projects. Third, promoting tourism through Swadesh Darshan. So these 2 points are somewhat same, but this person has written it separately. What I can do is, measures taken is, first is setting up a ministry, you can say. Second is adaptation of heritage scheme, again to boost tourism and get more funds. You can give the example of this Swadesh scheme. Third is basically awareness generation and incentivizing people, in the sense that, okay, if you go and go through these sites and go through these places for holidays, a kind of tax rebate would be given. So it will also boost tourism to a certain extent, and the proper funding channels would be opened up. So these 3 measures you can write, and very simple and very crisp, concise. So your answers would be done. So if this is a 15 marks question, you'll at least get 6.5 or 7 out of it. Or 7 out of it. Next question, as we move forward, the same question goes around like this. The tribal art has a huge potential for acting as an economic resource and tool for socio-economic transformation of tribal in India. Elucidate, also highlight the challenges in the context. So the question is related to tribal art that has a huge economic resource. Along with that, it's a tool for socio-economic transformation of tribals. So now they are asking us to elucidate the challenges behind us, and also what are the things that can be taken to address this kind of problem or address this kind of issues. So now this concerned person has written, tribal art refers to art processed by specific tribes which are unique and represent traits of their culture. Okay, very good. What is tribal art? This person has given the definition about this, but if you skip the definition also, that's also fine. If you write something about general, about in the recent times tribal communities have able to showcase or display this many amount of art, and then give a small definition, it's an art which relates to unique representation of their trait and culture, that would suffice. But this introduction is also fine, but I will not be marking you a higher number in this. Anyway, as we move forward, now it comes to the potential. Now, as it is asked here, tribal art has a huge potential. So it's the answer, the person who's answering this is writing down how it has a huge potential for acting as an economic resource. So the first is as an economic resource by propagating such arts in tribal fairs. Now when you propagate or showcase these arts in tribal fairs, many people can go and buy that, and as a result their income or their standard of living improves. It is basically a kind of trading is taking place. So at Hunar Haats you can see many a times tribal fairs or unique tribal handmade products are showcased there, where people go and buy stuff, and as a result it improves the financial conditions of these tribal people. Performing art in global function. Recently a Tripura dance featured in UAE. So now again economic resource, in the sense that these tribal arts are performed at global functions. Recently when one of the prime ministers from, I think, Colombia visited India, or somewhere in Europe visited India, Bihu was shown to him. I mean, the Bihu dance form was performed there. As a result, the concerned authority and people all around got to know that okay, Bihu is a local dance, and people started taking interest in these kind of art forms. So recently, a Tripura dance was featured in UAE. So again, it led to growing knowledge of these kind of art forms, and then again in future, the people who have performed these kind of art, they can be called to these functions and they can perform this, and then the art continues, because as a result, the concerned performing now, he can showcase or he can transfer these kind of knowledge to the future generations. Third point, as an economic sources, by establishing GI tags for their resource, for their produce. So GI tag is geographical indicator tags that is related to a specific good which belong to a particular state or community. So again, it helps to distinguish the uniqueness of that product and or which place it belongs to. So what I feel is, in this question, the candidate has somewhat gone off track and was not able to answer what the examiner is actually looking for. So if I show you, tribal art has a huge potential for acting as an economic resource. So he has shown this answer, how it is an economic resource, but some point could have been bettered in this whole second part that he has written. And a tool for socio-economic transformation. Now I think he has also written about how this tribal art form helps in socio-economic transformation. So building up their confidence. So once the confidence is built, they can move about and mix with different peoples of different community, and in turn grow themselves in the society. So building up their confidence, better trust and assimilation. Obviously, once you call these people to perform, they feel a sense of brotherhood, they feel a sense of togetherness. So trust and assimilation develops. Less poverty, again it leads to decrease in poverty and decrease in unemployment levels. Very good, this point is fine. Now some of the challenges that are related to that are related to these tribal art form are, in this context, are: the first is lack of awareness in how to utilize the art for economic gains. You're just not going out there to perform. These are some of the challenges that, okay, along with performance, we also need some kind of monetary benefits, or, monetary transfer is required. So lack of awareness is there that, okay, if we showcase this talent, we can also be paid monetarily, or it can help in our economic advancement. Second is declining art. A majority of them are moving away from their culture. So declining art, as in many people find that these activities are not so much economical viable, in the sense that they don't provide a sense of livelihood for a long run. So the upcoming generations are moving away from this culture and going into different profession. And the reason behind this is that effects of globalization, or again lack of proper awareness, or lack of proper monetary transfers are not there. So these are the reasons, some of the challenges. The third challenges you can write is poverty and isolation due to rugged terrain. Now you don't have to write about the terrain here, because they are talking about particularly art form here. So because of declining art, because it's not economically viable, people shift to different profession, because it leads to poverty and isolations in the long run. As you know, if you cannot perform the art, you are not monetarily benefited, and then again you are poor, you don't have you have a family to feed, and if you are unable to do that, you fall in isolation. So these are some of the pros, as in the cons or the result of these challenges. Lack of channel to propagate government conducted Adi Mahotsav from time to time to promote tribal arts. So lack of channels to propagate. Again, this is a repetition of this point. So if you mix up these first and the 4 point, that would suffice. And second and the third point, if it's mixed, it's again suffice. You don't have to write much here. Now this is a topper's copy. You can see what are the problems that are mentioned there in this answer. Then again, I am saying it's not a very easy task to sit in the exam and answer all the points very correctly. It takes time to think and then write. That is why the problem with civil service is that all the answer that you are answering has to come out subconsciously. You just can't go there, sit, think and write, because there are 20 questions. You have to answer each of them in say 7 to 8 minutes. And then again, you have to understand, okay, when I'm answering these questions, it has to be crisp, concise and to the point. So reasons why people fail or don't qualify in this exam, or the level of cutoff or level of pass percentage is very less, because the demand of the exam is not understood. Now this, being a topper, this guy has somewhat not been able to answer what is being actually asked there in some sense. So in this question, even if it's 15 marks, the examiner would give him around 3 or 4. Now he has concluded by government conducted Adi Mahotsav from time to time to promote tribal arts. Okay, very simple, very basic conclusion. So 3 to 4 usse zyada isme nahi milega. Now we come down to our third question that talks about government. Now this is a factual question in the sense you have to go through what is Government of India Act 1919. You have studied Government of India 1919. Then only you will be able to answer this. So though the government or the things that happened before it and after it. So though the Government of India Act 1919 proposed some radical administrative changes, it remained short of fulfilling the aspirations of Indians. Elaborate. So some of the radical changes were proposed, but at the same time it was unable to fulfill the aspirations of the Indians, the Government of India Act 1999. So now let's look at the answer of the topper. So what he starts with, British government in 1920s faced various pressures both eternally and in Britain to bring constitutional changes in India. Okay, so the first point is that which talks about the Britishers or the ruling government in India face certain kind of pressure both internally, that is from within the company or within the government, and externally to bring about, externally in the sense from the Indians and other parties, to bring out certain constitutional changes in India. In this backdrop, August Declaration of 1917 paved the way for Government of India Act 1919. Very good point. Now this person knows what is August Declaration. This person knows which led to the Government of India Act 1919. Now what were the radical changes? We can see bicameralism was introduced at the center, as you all know. Okay, expanded the separate electorate. Now as you all know, there was a separate electorate which started with Government of India Act 1919. Morley Minto reform that we call it. 1909. We also call it Morley Minto reforms or communal father of communal awards. Sorry, so father of communal, the father of communal awards. Basically, what I'm trying to say. So Morley Minto reforms. Next is expanded the separate electorate to Sikh and European. So this is what we are talking about. Third point is it introduced diarchy at the provinces to give them more freedom. Now diarchy was introduced here, and in the Government of India Act 1935, diarchy was removed from the provinces and introduced at the center. In 1919, it was introduced for the provinces. In 1935, it was introduced for the center and removed from the provinces. Very important radical point. Next, as we move ahead, it increased the number of Indians in the Executive Council from 1 to 3. Now, the governor had a permanent Executive Council, as you all know. The number of permanent executive members increased from 1. Previously, there was a one Indian member. Now, it increased to 3. However, it remained short on the demand. So what were the demands that were not met by these Britishers? So for the first demand which was not met was the goal of self-governance or role remained a far-sighted. So the demand for self-government or Swaraj that was propagated by the Indians was not met. Next point is civil services age and representation was an issue. Now, as you all know, previously Britishers said that they decreased the age of civil services, and now Indians were not able to get into this kind of services, and as a result, there was a huge clash among the people against the British East India Company. So this was a representation. This was another issue. The effect of veto was still under the viceroy. The veto power, as we see, that is with the president now. That time, the veto power was with the viceroy, and he could veto any of the bill from the state legislative or the provinces or the central government. Indians were not given important posts, as you all know, because Britishers want to control the important positions, so decisions could be taken easily. So Indians were not given the important post. Further acts like Rowlatt Act and Jallianwala Bagh created resentment. As you all know, what happened in Rowlatt Act, it's also called as the Black Act. So freedom of press were taken away, and if anybody protested against the government, they could be put behind the bars without court trial. So the writ of habeas corpus was dissolved. And Jallianwala Bagh, as you all know, Udham Singh, the movie which came now, it's related to this. So these are the problems related to some of the things that Indians were not satisfied with. The resentment due to the act caused Indians to launch, and as a result, when the resentment was caused, Indians were bound to launch the non-cooperation movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. So very basic question, very nicely written, but somewhere if you have better facts, better terminologies, you can use them. But still, in this question, if the question is a 15 mark, the examiner will give him around at least 5 or maybe 6. So till then, we have covered 3 questions. I'll try to keep this video as short as possible. Next video, we'll see again 3 questions, and likewise, we are going to continue. So till then, stay tuned and study hard, because your exams are coming very fast. So thank you.